It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the San Diego Padres. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you, wherever you may be. Final game of the 9-game homestand, final game of the year between the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. The Dodgers have beaten the Padres 11 of 18. They've beaten them 6 of 9 here at Dodger Stadium. The pitchers tonight for the Dodgers, Dan Haren, with a record of 1-1 against San Diego this year, 6-5 lifetime, and for the year, he is 12-10. On the mound for the Padres in their last game with the Dodgers, they'll counter with Ian Kennedy. This will be his 17th start in his career, going back to 2010. And for Kennedy, 0-2 this year, 0-4 against the Dodgers. Over the last 2 years, he is 5-6 lifetime. And by the way, Ian with a record of 10-12. After today, the Dodgers will move on, as you know, heading for the weekend in San Francisco. It'll be Ryu opening up, then Greinke, and then Kershaw, and we'll find out yet a little bit more about what's going to wind up as far as 2014. So those are the pregame stats. Sit back, relax. We've got a good ball game on tap and a whole lot more right after this.
Kershaw have certainly been the three-headed monster in the Dodgers starting rotation that has given this team a 19-game lead in the National League West. And there is no better three that you want against the San Francisco Giants in the upcoming series. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside Dodger Stadium. That is the rotation that Don Mattingly has set for the key series coming up against the Giants this weekend in San Francisco. Hyunjin Ryu, Zach Greinke, and Clayton Kershaw. If you take a look at the Coors Light cold hard facts, they have really been dominant against the Giants this season. 2-1 for Ryu, 3-0 for Zach Greinke, 1-0 for Kershaw as far as the record is concerned. Look at Clayton Kershaw's ERA, 1.69. And of course, the series is in San Francisco this weekend. Hyunjin Ryu, 4-1 record at AT&T Park. Look at Clayton Kershaw, 7-2 in San Francisco, a .69 ERA. There are no other three that you would like on the hill against the San Francisco Giants with a 2.5-game lead in the division. Dan Herron back on the hill tonight has been tremendous in his last 6 starts, a 4-1 record. Will he do it again tonight against the San Diego Padres in the final game of the season? After the break, Vince Scully on the call.
You may be. We're at Dodger Stadium closing down a 9-game homestand, and the Dodgers hoping they will close it down by winning up. Dan Herron reaching the mound, and for the Dodgers, they do have one temptation. Let's face it, so do we, and that is doing this game while at the same time keeping an eye on the Giant Arizona game. Couple of notes about the Giants you might not be aware of. Remember when they started the year, they were 22-9. Then he really slumped at home. Well, the Giants now are back on the beam. They are 9-1 at home with a 7-game winning streak. So the Dodgers had better keep an eye on the Padres and not fall into the trap of looking for Friday night. As far as the Dodgers are concerned, defensively, they're set up. No dramatic changes, except perhaps if you want to consider Justin Turner at second base. That's about it. We'll take a look at Bud Black's ball club, a team that by winning last night snapped a 6-game losing streak. Corey Spangenberg will be in left field. Jan Hervis Solarte at third base. Seth Smith in right field. Jed Jerko, the second baseman, hits cleanup. Yasmani Grandal at first base, followed by the catcher Rene Rivera. Center fielder Will Venable, the shortstop Alexei Amarista, and the pitcher Ian Kennedy. For the Dodgers, Dan Herron, with a record of 12-10. He is 1-1 against San Diego this year, and he is 6-5 lifetime. So Dan ready to go to work. Meanwhile, we'll also tell you that the Giant game is about ready to start. And top of the first inning, it's Josh Colmenter against Ryan Vogelsong. And as far as Colmenter is concerned, it's a nightmare because he'll have to face Buster Posey. And Posey is 8 for 11 against him. So we'll try very hard to keep tabs on what the Giants are doing. And meanwhile, Spangenberg steps in. Left-hand batter takes a little high ball one. 1-0 the count to Corey. Spangenberg, good-looking left-hand hitter, first-round choice. He swings right through a breaking ball, and the count 1-1 strike. They're very high on him. He went to community college at Indian River. That's in Fort Pierce, about 15 miles for the Dodgers' old training grounds. That would be at Fort Pierce and in Vero. Fly ball to Yasiel Puig, and just like that, one away. Let's take a look at the Dodgers defensively, and we'll start in the outfield. And no dramatic change there. Carl Crawford in left, Yasiel Puig in center, Matt Kemp with a 15-game hitting streak in right. And then Uribe Ramirez. The big difference, Justin Turner giving D. Gordon a rest, and Adrian Gonzalez. A.J. Ellis will be handling Dan Haren. Haren ready to work now on Yangervis Solarte, the third baseman, with one down here in the first inning. Solarte from Venezuela did not play last night. Had one hit and a walk in game one of the series, and the count evens up now, 1-1 strike. Solarte with Seth Smith on deck. 1-1 pitch on the way. Haren delivers on the hands, a little blooper, and that has a chance and does fall in. So Solarte is jammed, and he's big enough and strong enough to bloop it into center field. And the batter now, Seth Smith. So a little fly ball, but it drops between Ramirez and Puig. Neither man had a shot at it. So Haren will perk out of the stretch, and Solarte trying to raise a little havoc over there at first base. Solarte, a rookie, has not been involved in a stolen base. Interesting thing about Seth Smith, we told you that he was a backup quarterback to Eli Manning at Ole Miss, hitting .273, 12 home runs, 43 runs batted in, takes a strike. He provides the power, but the interesting thing is the ratio of walks and strikeouts. He is a very rare fellow with power, 62 walks, only 76 strikeouts. Now the strike one pitch, fastball in there. 0-2 the count is set. So Haren trying to give the Dodgers their 7th win here against the Padres, winning 7 out of 10 and wrapping up the series, winning 12 of the 19. We'll see. Strike two pitch to Seth Smith is taken low and inside, ball one. Beautiful evening, 80 degrees at the start. 8-0. You can see the mountains outlined in their purple's majesty out there in center field. No wind, hardly a breeze, a whisper, and a 1-2 strike count on Seth Smith. Haren ready, Dan delivers, and that's fought off, fouled away. Good fastball up and in. 1-2 strikes the count. So Dan Haren trying to win his 13th. He had that bad spot, but after that he's recovered nicely and he's been pitching very well. 1-2 the count. Right-hander ready and comes back. Big curveball. Strike three called. So Seth Smith takes that big curve and strikeout number one. Just after we're talking about how good it is that he walks so many times, but down he goes. And Jed Jerko coming up. Jerko hit a 2-run home run last night. He also had a base hit. Jerko has 10 home runs. He had 23 home runs last year. This year he's had a bad foot, so he didn't play very many games at all. But he'll be a power throughout his career. He looks at a pitch off the plate, ball one. 1 ball and no strikes to the Mountaineer from West Virginia, Jed Jerko. Herron out of his stretch. Solarte short lead. Jerko big swing and a miss, and the count 1 ball 1 strike. For Dan Herron, we were talking about that flat spot, and it started early in July against Colorado. So then he lost Colorado, San Diego, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Chicago. Finally turned it around against the Angels. Dan off the rubber. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now Aaron plants the right foot. Adrian holding a corner on Solarte. And the 1-1 pitch coming up. Jerko, right hand hitter, swings right through it. And the count 1-2. Of course, for Dan Herron, the one thing you expect is you see Grandal on deck. He's one of the best control pitchers in the game. He averages about 1.8 walks per 9 innings. Here's the 1-2 pitch. There goes Solarte. The pitch is low. The throw is high. And the tag is late. Ellis made a fine throw. It was just up around the head of Turner. And when he brought the tag down, Solarte was in there. So for Yangervis Solarte, he was looking back. I think he was expecting more hit and run than a straight steal. But a head first slide, and he just did get in. Turner thought he had him on the hand before he got to the bag. Don Mattingly starts out, and apparently we will have an official review. For Solarte, if he is successful, that would be his first stolen base. So the umpires with the crew chief, Dana DeMuth, and the crowd reacting, saying, oh, he's out, and the Dodgers walk off the field. They're not waiting for a review. Tag on the back of the left hand before it touched the bag. So as far as Dodger vision is concerned, the decision is made, and the umpires agree, and that's that. So Solarte is thrown out. Good play by A.J. Ellis. And at the end of half an inning, Padres nothing, Dodgers coming up. He barely got the review up before the crowd reacted, and the safe was suddenly changed to out. Let's take a look at his lineup as the Dodgers now try to score in the first inning. They'll have Yasiel Puig leading off, Justin Turner at second base, and then the familiar names Gonzalez and Kemp and Ramirez, Crawford, Uribe, and Ellis, and the pitcher Dan Herron. On the mound for San Diego, Ian Kennedy. He will be 30 years old the 19th of December. Born in Huntington Beach, lives in Scottsdale. Tall at 6 foot, 195. Went to school at USC and was a first-round pick by the Yankees. So Ian Reddy in the first pitch to Puig, a line drive and a leaping catch by Amarista. So Alexi Amarista stands 5'7", and he went high in the air to take a base hit away from Puig. For Yasiel, however, that's an encouraging sign. He hit that thing right on the button and lost a base hit only because of the skill of the shortstop, Amarista. So a line drive for an out, one down, and Justin Turner checking in. Bottom of the first inning, no score. I'm just wondering aloud whether the league or the commissioner's office will do something that was pretty obvious tonight. The pitch in for a strike to Turner. In other words, there was a close play at second base involving Solarte. Mattingly went out and said he wants a review. And while the umpires were gathering, they showed the play up on the scoreboard, and it was so obvious that Ellis' throw, the tag, was right on the left hand of Solarte. And the crowd knew right away. And there were the umpires waiting for a report from New York, which was psychologically not good for the game at all. I'm not sure if they shouldn't think a lot about showing the play while the umpires haven't even thought. If you want to make the call and then show it, okay, but it does seem a little intimidating. Not to say that the umpires are going to be intimidated by the crowd noise, but nevertheless, it just seemed like a rather awkward moment that could be played a lot better. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count to Turner. He takes low, ball 3. 3-2 the count. Duck in a couple of notes on the Giants. They've won 7 straight at home. Should they win tonight, their 8-game home streak would be the best since 2011. A shot off the leg of Kennedy, deflected to second for the out at first. It got Ian on the left leg, and he's trying to walk it off around the mound. So let's see if he succeeds. That had to hurt. Kennedy gives the umpire the ball, points to his catcher Rivera and said, it got me right here. And it was the left leg just as he turned, and the carom was good. Came right over to Jerko, made the play. So Turner loses a base hit. 1-4-3. And with 2 out, the batter is Adrian Gonzalez, and apparently it didn't hurt. It was one of those glancing blows. So Kennedy doesn't skip a moment. Adrian now has done better even than that wonderful year last year, and he still has a bunch of games left. Ball 1. Remember last year he had 22 home runs and 100 RBIs. Right now he has 23 home runs and 102 RBIs. 1-0 pitch on the way. That's in for a strike, and the count 1-1. So Adrian, who has really been the butter and egg man for the Dodgers, delivering all the time. He has a modest 7-game hitting streak. Grounds 1 foul outside of first. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Last night, Adrian came up in the 6th inning with Gordon aboard. Got a fastball just below the knees and whacked it into the right center field pavilion. The bubble machine was working, the victory dance, but it was no victory as the Dodgers lost 6-3. 1-2 pitch on the way. Adrian goes the other way, foul down the left field line. The Diamondbacks visiting San Francisco. They have lost 4 in a row, and during their 4-game losing streak, Arizona has amassed 6 runs. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Adrian takes high and away. 2-2 the count. Ryan Vogelsong, pitching for the Giants, is far better pitcher at home than on the road. At spacious AT&T Park, his earned run average is 3. On the road, it's over 5 as Gonzalez swings and misses and strikes out. So down go the Dodgers 1-2-3, and at the end of an inning, no score. At the top of the second inning, there are always those who are oblivious to the current scene, and bless their hearts, they're having a very nice time living in their own particular world. You can't go back and play in that world. You might be an observer, but no way to go back. Jed Jerko was left at the plate when Solarte eventually was called out at second base. So Jerko, Grandal, and Rivera. Second inning, no score. The 1-0 pitch on the way in for a strike. 1-1 the count. No score in the first inning at AT&T Park. They played the Giants tough enough up there. 1-1 pitch on the way. And sound like a cracked bat. Little ground ball to Ramirez. Hanley makes the play. And that'll do it for Jerko. Ground ball to short. 1 away. The Diamondbacks not only have lost 4 in a row, they are 6-16 in their last 22 games, averaging less than 3 runs a game. Well, the Dodgers took advantage of them here, so the Giants are trying to return the favor. Cole Mentor, in starting against the Giants this year, and he's on the mound for Arizona tonight, his earned run average is 1.5 against the Giants. The first pitch to Grandal, high and away. 1 ball and no strikes. Yasmani switch hitting first baseman catcher had 2 doubles and 2 walks last night, plus a stolen base. Grandal in game 1 also hit a home run. He does very well. He hits extremely well here in this ballpark. He takes the next pitch a little high. 2-1 the count to Yasmani Grandal. .314 here. Ground ball backhanded by Ramirez. Throw to first in time. So Hanley makes a nice play going deep in the hole, backhanding and then throwing a strike. And we have 2 down, and the batter will be Rene Rivera. Hanley backhanding. This was a tougher play than the backhand effort he failed to make last night. And throwing from the grass, he had plenty on the throw. So we have 2 down. Rene Rivera, who has thrown out 27 base runners at the plate. Breaking ball over for a strike, and the count 0-1. So Herron trying to throw strikes as he usually does. Rene has a look at a pitch inside under the hands. 1 ball and 1 strike. He's from Bayamon, Puerto Rico. Really coming into his own behind the plate. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Swung on, lifted to shallow right field. A trio of Dodgers. Justin Turner makes the catch. He was the middleman. He had Kemp on one side and Gonzalez on the other, but the redhead decided to make the play. So down go the Padres, and at the end of an inning and a half, no score. Reminder, Saturday, September 27th, La Gran Fiesta, Viva Los Doyers. There'll be live music, food, autographs, games, and fun for the entire family. That'll start at 2 p.m. and it's free with your ticket to the game. Brought to you by Chevrolet, State Farm, Coca-Cola, and Time Warner Cable. So for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/Viva today. Matt Kemp with a 15-game hitting streak will check in. He'll be followed by Hanley Ramirez. And then Carl Crawford. Kennedy ready, delivers, and the first pitch off the plate, ball one. Matt Kemp has his average now up to 282, 17 home runs. 19 home runs. And he takes a pitch low. In looking at Matt and his work against Ian Kennedy, Kemp has 2 home runs, hitting .267 against him. The 2-0 pitch coming up. Kennedy deals, and it's low, ball 3. And Matt has been so hot, they might very well green light him again, and if he likes the location, he can have a shot to hammer it. 3-0. Kennedy delivers. Sure enough, fastball lined into right center, base hit. A one-hopper to Seth Smith, and Matt holds on. I think what the position the manager played has a lot to do with it. In other words, it's 3-0. You're inclined to think if it's a pitcher managing, he's going to not green light the hitter. But if it's a former very good hitter as the manager, you expect he wants his hitters to be aggressive. So it was no real genius to figure he was going to green light a 3-0 pitch. And sure enough, he bangs it into right field. So Kemp's aboard, and here's Hanley Ramirez. No score, bottom of the second inning. Ian Kennedy set, turns, throws to first. Matt back on the bag. Matt Kemp has stolen 8 out of 13. Kennedy watching him. Ian's career tells you that he is and has always been a better pitcher after the All-Star break. Ian set, looks over his shoulder, now to Hanley, gets it for a strike, and the count 0-1. In his career, under 500 before the All-Star break. But as of right now, he's 34-17. 2-1 after the break. Ian has been throwing very well. Remember, wasn't too long ago, he won 21 games for the Diamondbacks in 2011, so he can pitch. Strike one pitch, fastball low. Rivera shot to first, not in time. Boy, Rivera really has a shotgun behind the plate. We mentioned earlier he has nailed 27 potential base stealers, and he made a good throw, just missed. Grandal making the sweep, tag on the elbow, hand was on the bag. 1 ball and 1 strike to Hanley Ramirez. Kennedy from a stretch. Kemp takes his lead. Ian to the plate. Fastball popped in the air at shortstop. It'll be Amarista making the catch. He was thinking, do I drop it and try to get a double play? And then he decided no. So Ramirez pops it up. 1 down, and Carl Crawford coming up. Another thing to take into consideration when Ian Kennedy is pitching, how many days rest does he have when he goes to the mound? On 4 days rest, he's 15 games above 500 in his career. On 5 days rest, he is 6 games under 500. Where's he tonight? He's on 5 days rest. So here's Crawford, been red hot. 7 home runs, 35 runs batted in. Hits one to deep left center. Venable going back to the top at the wall. It was going to go off the wall, land at his feet. They are going to send Matt Kemp in. Amarista's throw to the plate is not in time. On a long double off the wall, the Dodgers take a 1-0 lead. Will Venable is a very good outfielder, and I would hazard a guess, let's say 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10, he catches that ball. The Venable going back to the track at the wall, reached up, jumped up, just missed, and the ball then landed at his feet. He had the glove open, and it was a matter of inches as he staggered in. Matt Kemp, running well, was able to beat Amarist's throw to the plate on Crawford's double to center. So the Dodgers jump out 1-0. 10th double. Matt Kemp, huffing and puffing with his 16-game hitting streak, carries in the run. Now the batter is Juan Uribe. Kennedy ready. Slider down and away, ball 1, 1-0. Another thing you might find interesting with Ian Kennedy as the game progresses, what he does first time through the lineup, second time, third time, etc. One time for sure, first time through, the opposition is hitting in the 230s against him. Here's the 1-0 pitch to Uribe, off speed, change, high and inside. 2 balls and no strikes. Talking about hitters and what they do before and after the All-Star break, the Giants have a fellow who's actually leading Justin Turner by 1 point. 2-0 pitch is taken for a strike. Joe Panic. He's hitting .367 since the All-Star break. Buster Posey hitting .355 since the break. Justin Turner hitting .366, and Adrian Gonzalez .337 since the All-Star break. 2-1 pitch, fastball missing. 3-1 the count. For Ian Kennedy, if you go back to the start of last year, he is 0-4 against the Dodgers and an earned run average almost 5. 3-1 pitch. Kennedy delivers, and that's promptly banged to center. That's a base hit. Venable kind of held on, and that confused Crawford. He wasn't sure whether Venable was going to catch it or not, so all Carl could do is go over to third. So Uribe lines one to center. Third hit in the inning. Dodgers have a run in. They have first and third, 1 out. Crawford just froze, and then when the ball landed, all he could do is go to third. So the batter will be A.J. Ellis. 1 run, 3 hits in the inning for the Dodgers, and Darren Balsley saying, wait a minute, I want to talk to my pitcher. Another thing, while we have a chance to talk about the upcoming Giants series, since the All-Star break, the Dodgers will run into a bit of a whirlwind because Hunter Pence and Buster Posey, since the All-Star break, have driven in 35 runs. Matt Kemp 34. Dodgers hoping Hanley Ramirez can join in the fun. Well, Matt sitting back catching his breath. 1-0 Dodgers. Kennedy's had his meeting with Balsley, and here's A.J. Ellis. First and third, 1 out, 1-0 Dodgers, second inning. Kennedy out of his stretch. Right-hander to the plate. Fastball just missed. Fastball at 92. Ellis hitting 188 with a home run and 16 runs batted in. Pretty much behind the plate every day. Maybe he has Sunday off for Drew Butera. He probably will not have any time off up in San Francisco, but we'll see. The 1-0 pitch on the way to A.J. Over the top fastball in there, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Arizona and the Giants, they're scoreless. Second inning. Kennedy trying to slow things down. Now he's ready. 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball inside under the hands. 2 balls and 1 strike. By the way, we talked about Matt Kemp getting that base hit on the 3-0 count. This year, they've green-lighted Matt 4 times, and he's 3 for 4. 750 batting average, putting the 3-0 pitch in play. 2-1 pitch on the way off. Nice save by Rene Rivera. That could have been a wild pitch and a run. Talking about wild pitches, we check, and Kennedy has 11. So Rivera saved a run for sure, at least for the moment. And a 3-1 count. Crawford at third, Uribe at first, 1 out. 3-1 pitch. AJ takes low, so the bases are loaded for a pretty good hitting pitcher.
Pitcher number 14, Dan Herron.
So Dan Herron coming up, bases loaded, 1 out. Looking at Herron's work with the bats, he has 8 hits. He leads the staff with 5 runs batted in, and he has struck out around a third of the time. He's not quite sure what they want him to do, so he'll meet with Lorenzo Bundy. And one other note while that meeting goes on, Carl Crawford had hurt Kennedy in the past, and he hurt him again tonight with the double. Crawford is now 10 for 27 against Kennedy. That's a .370 batting average. So Ian in a mess, bases loaded, 1 out. Dodgers trying to get a huge jump early in the game. We're in the second. And the first pitch, Herron takes low, ball 1. 1-0. Dan again looking to Lorenzo Bundy. Crawford down the line from third. Uribe a good lead at second. Ellis cautious lead at first. The 1-0 pitch on the way, and that's taken low. So Kennedy behind in the count now. 2 balls and no strikes. Again studying Bundy, who now passes whatever message there is. The corners are up, Solarte and Grandal, but Amarista and Jerko are back. The 2-0 pitch on the way is taken for a strike. The outfield is split. Venable shading a little bit towards right center. So the gap is between left and center. Seth Smith is up steps in right field. So the 2-1 pitch to Dan Herron. Fastball, half swing, and the count 2-2. That was one of those swings Dan started. You knew he changed his mind and he couldn't stop. So Kennedy trying to muscle his way out of a jam here with 1 out. Ian to his windup. The 2-2 pitch on the way, fouled right into Rivera's mask and flying back into the stand. Boy, the damage a 93-mile-an-hour fastball can do when it's fouled and in such a short place. Contact and then contact. So it has to pick up a little speed. Rivera took a couple of heavy hits in the first 2 games. And Dan Herron swings and down he goes. So now 2 out in the second inning, and Yasiel Puig coming up. Dodgers leading 1-0. Puig hit it hard in the first inning, line drive that was heading towards left center, and Alexi Amarista went up the ladder and one-handed it. For Yasiel, he has 1 grand slam, hit it last year against Atlanta. Yasiel waiting. Kennedy into the windup. Fastball in at the knee. By the way, Yasiel playing with a somewhat of a troubled heart. His mom is here, but she entered the hospital. I believe she's having an eye problem. So that has him upset. And then, of course, he's struggling a bit, hitting .292. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Kennedy delivers inside. That was a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and we're not trying to start anything, but you may remember Kennedy hit the tip of Puig's nose when he was pitching for Arizona. 1 ball and 1 strike. Crawford, Uribe, and Ellis all out on the lines. 1-0 Dodgers, second inning. Kennedy ready. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball foul back at 93. 1-2. We made the point last night. I don't know how valid it is, but there are so many statistical notes on the players, individuals. And one of the notes that I was reading summed up saying that the big puzzle is that Puig has been struggling against fastballs. Well, we'll see. Kennedy looks over the tips of his glove. Rivera shuffling cards behind the plate. 1-2 fastball inside, and that was 95. That's as hard as Kennedy has thrown. Of course, when you're talking about Andrew Kachner, 95, that's nice, but he was hitting 98 last night. So 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, bases loaded, 1-0 Dodgers in the second inning. And now Rivera wants to go out and talk to his pitcher. Of course, Rivera's a newcomer. Ian Kennedy first came up to the Yankees back in 2007. And having already won 21 games, he commands a great deal of respect. Crawford at third, Uribe at second, Ellis at first. Ian nods yes to Rivera. 2-2 pitch on the way. Fastball high and away. So they're giving him all fastballs. Apparently that's the word. And waiting on deck, Justin Turner. Big moment for Ian Kennedy. Full count, bases loaded, 2 out. 3-2 pitch on the way. Fastball got him looking on the outside part of the plate. Well, that's been a constant theme. Fastball, fastball, fastball. You'd really figure it would be a slump with sliders and curveballs, but no, he's getting fastball. Meanwhile, Crawford got a fastball doubled in a run, and at the end of 2, Dodgers lead 1-0. Nothing lead into the third inning. The Dodgers 1 run, 3 hits. San Diego no runs, 1 hit. Ian Kennedy was hurt on hitters counts. Remember 3-0 count and Matt Kemp singled. Juan Uribe 3-1 pitch singled, and Crawford did it differently. His was a first pitch double. So into the third we go after Puig strikes out, and Venable, Amarista, and Kennedy in that order. Dan Herron ready, and the right-hander delivers. Little cutter in on the hands. 1 ball and no strikes to Venable. Venable acted annoyed, angry almost, that he didn't catch Crawford's double. Will takes his strike. He's a veteran outfielder and a very good one. Went to school at Princeton, was a marvelous basketball player, and of course his dad played for about 15 years in the big league. Will takes low and inside, ball 2, 2-1 to count. He has struggled against Dan Herron. 2 for 17, but he does have a home run. 2-1 pitch. He shows bunt, then pulls the bat back, and the count goes 3-1. Venable, for about 50 games, is hitting a very solid 280. Three-one pitch coming up. Aaron's breaking ball is fouled back to the top of the screen, and it carries up and over. 3-2 to Dan. Working on Will Venable. Alex Amarista, the little guy, actually has a home run against Dan Haren in the past. 3-2 pitch is taken off the plate. Ball 4. So Will Venable, who has stolen 9 bases, now represents a tying run. And here's Amarista. Amarista has started 102 games in place of Everett Cabrera. He's also started 23 straight. So he might be on the small side for the big leagues, but he has to be very, very strong. He has 3 home runs, 27 runs batted in. Alexi Amarista, left-hand hitter, looks at a breaking ball strike, and the count 0-1. His home run against Haren was back on July the 11th, which coincides with that bad stretch that Dan had. Throw to first, not in time. On July the 11th, the Dodgers lost that game 6-3. Dan lasted only 4 innings. Worked hard, 102 pitches in 4 innings. And Amarista tormented him with the home run. Amarista waiting. Haren at the belt. Venable holding. And a high pop fly around the plate. Ellis backs out of the way, and Adrian Gonzalez makes the catch. The only problem was AJ ran right out from under his helmet, and Gonzalez coming down the line. There was a thought, never mind stepping on the mask. Adrian, a few more feet, might have stepped right. Kennedy with the bat has 5 hits, a double, and a home run. He has 5 runs batted in. Haren on and off the rubber. Dan bends at the waist, look for the sign. Kennedy, right-hand batter. He's around to bunt, fouls it back, and the count 0-1. Ask him to bunt, and he's done very well. He has 5 sacrifices. Spangenberg on deck. Third baseman last night, left fielder tonight. So Corey waiting, throw to first. Venable diving back. One of the little footnotes up there in San Francisco, you know, their slugger Michael Morse has been ailing. Here's the pitch, a swing with the runner going, and he's whacked it in the gap. Over to play it on a hop is Crawford, and just like that, San Diego has runners at first and second and 1 out. So Kennedy showed bunt, then pulled the bat back, single to left. Venable will get as far as second base. So 2 on with 1 out. Fly ball single, and the batter will be Spangenberg, the left fielder third baseman. Ian laughing to Jose Valentin, his first base coach. Here's young Corey hitting .348. 2 home runs, 6 runs batted in. He had a walk-off home run within the first 2 games of his career. He takes ball 1. He also is the first player with a walk-off home run for his first home run since Drew Stubbs of the Reds back in 2009. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Spangenberg swings, doesn't get it. 1 ball and 1 strike. He's the first player to hit a walk-off home run in the pinch for his first major league home run. since Paul McNulty did it back for the Padres about 8-9 years ago. He's a first-round pick. And the 1-1 pitch coming up. Herron checks and delivers. Line drive, foul, and boy, that almost got first base umpire Ron Kulpa. Whoa. That was close to his feet. The first base umpire did a good job to getting away out of that thing. Wow. And it actually got him. Thought he had avoided it, but it got him on the back of the leg. Aye, aye. Ron Kulpa has been an umpire for 16 years. He's out of St. Louis. Now the next pitch is a strike on the corner. So Spangenberg caught looking. So 2 on, now 2 out. And Yanhervis Solarte coming up. Pitch just did catch the corner. Big strikeout for Dan Herron. Dan with 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. Solarte singled to center in the first inning, and although he was declared safe on a stolen base, on the official review he was called out. Switch hitter takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Left-hand hitting Seth Smith is on deck. Yanhervis Solarte. Pretty tough name, but after a while you begin to pronounce it properly. Strike 1 pitch on the way, and that's off the plate. So Herron trying to extricate himself from a tough spot. Yanhervis, that's spelt Yangervis. 1-1 pitch with 2 on and 2 out, and it's fouled off. Solarte's uncle, former big leaguer Roger Cedeno, he's from Valencia in Venezuela. Solarte was originally drafted by the Twins and surfaced with the Yankees. One ball and 2 strikes. Solarte talking about his uncle Roger Cedeno, how we used to watch him on TV. Now Cedeno's watching him on TV. 1-2 pitch, swung on, line drive, dropped by Ramirez, but he picks it up and steps on the bag. So no runs, 1 hit, 2 left. Herron looks up to the heavens and then walks off gratefully, and the Dodgers still holding a 1-0 lead. Inning. Ian Kennedy had that base hit, spent half the inning standing at first base. Now he'll have to work against Justin Turner, Adrian Gonzalez, and then Matt Kemp. No score up north. We're keeping tabs on that. It's only the second inning. So Kennedy ready to work Turner. Turner slammed one off Kennedy's left knee, but it caromed over to Jerko, and Jerko threw him out. So Justin, a tough out at any time, and particularly tough on a comebacker against Kennedy. Hitting .326. All right, Kennedy ready. Justin Turner settles in. And here we go in the third. 1-0 Dodgers. Kennedy delivers and just misses inside with a fastball. 1 ball and no strikes. We were talking about Kennedy and where he is going through the lineup. This will be the second time around and gets a strike. Second time around, the team hits about 15 points collectively, a little better than the first time. 1-1 pitch on the way. That's inside, almost hit him. 2-1 the count. Ian Kennedy, 10-12, 5-6 lifetime against the Dodgers. Right-hander shaking no to Rivera. Now he's ready. 2-1 pitch on the way. Fastball pulled to the hole. Base hit. So Justin Turner, who lost a base hit in the first inning on the comebacker, comes right back with a base hit to left field, and Adrian Gonzalez will be coming up. High fastball, and Turner just went up and got it. Single through. Amarista, who was playing up the middle, never had a chance. So Turner at first. Here's Gonzalez, followed by Kemp. Last night, if you were watching the game, all night you saw Andrew Kashner and Ian Kennedy talking. Kennedy delivers, fastball hit in the air to center. Venable started back. Now comes up 3 steps, tagging but holding. Turner drawing a good throw. So Gonzalez a fly ball, 1 away. So I would imagine every time that a Dodger hitter came up, Kashner would suggest something to Kennedy. Kennedy would talk. That's for 7 innings. Andrew went 7 and limited the Dodgers to 2 runs, and right alongside of him after every third out was Kennedy. So Kennedy is doing what Kashner did, throwing a lot of fastballs, only he doesn't throw as hard as Andrew. Here's Matt Kemp. Singled on a 3-0 pitch in the second inning, so he's now hit safely on 16 straight. Kennedy said, looks over at first, now to Kemp, who looks at a pitch off the plate, ball 1. Again, we mentioned that Kemp is 3 for 4 when putting a 3-0 pitch in play. In other words, a lot of times he might green light 3-0 and he fouls it off or he walks. But when he puts it in play, 3 for 4. Big swing and a miss at a slider, and the count 1-1. You know, up north at AT&T, Ryan Vogelsong in trouble in the second inning, making a lot of pitches, but he was still able to get out of it as Tim Lincecum was just beginning to warm up. So they've gone to the third inning, no score. Kemp fouls it away. 1-2 the count. It'll be Ryu against Bumgarner, Greinke against Hudson, and Kershaw against Petit. Petit had an incredible game last night, didn't he? 80 some odd pitches, 84 pitches. Wow. We'll see him Sunday. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count to Matt. A bluff at first and a slow ground ball to short. Amarista the feed for 1. The turn in the dirt, caught on the bounce, and Kemp has grounded into a double play. So no runs, 1 hit, Nice bit of hanging in there and making the turn, but Jerko gets up and limps walking off. It's 1-0 Dodgers at the end of 3. Brought to you by the all-new Chrysler 200, America's import, and by Jack in the Box. Try Jack's Spicy Chicken Club combo at Jack in the Box with fries and a drink while it lasts. 4th inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Justin Turner plays hard, so does Jed Jerko. Put them together, and Jerko really took a lick as Turner comes in to try and break up the double play. Whoops. Wow. Jerko limped slightly coming off, but into the 4th, big curveball drops into Seth Smith for a strike, and Jerko on deck. One thing the players certainly don't resent is another infielder, and in this case Turner is playing second base. He's going to be asked to turn a double play. They don't mind that at all. One second baseman taking out another. They take a little umbrage. Some big outfielder whom they can't get otherwise. 1 ball and 1 strike. Foul back. 1-2. D. Gordon takes a lick all the time, and somewhere around 170 pounds. He's been remarkable. Tough spot. It is worse than shortstop for one big reason. 2-2. The shortstop sees the runner. The second baseman getting the feed has his back to the runner. So, for instance, Turner will have his back on the runner. Ground ball. Turner's playing shallow right field. Gets it over. I think we're watching the umpire who hadn't called it yet. Well, from the looks of things, they're going to give Turner an error. He kind of threw a dead fish over there. But the umpire, Tom Woodring, is the plate umpire, and the veteran, Ron Culpa. And we missed any calls. See, Culpa's looking and looking and never said a word. So it was a poor throw from shallow right field, and Turner draws the error. So tying run aboard, nobody out, and here is Jerko, and ball 1. One ball and no strikes. Seth Smith at first. Jerko, Grandal, and Rivera coming up in that order. Fastball got the inside corner, 1-1. Dodgers got a run. Kemp singled and Crawford doubled him home. And that's it. And in the dirt, nice save by AJ. 2-1 the count. On deck, Yasmani Grandal who grounded out in the second inning. Big switch hitting first baseman catcher out of Havana, Cuba. But right now it's Jed Jerko. 2-1. And strokes that into left center for a base hit. Crawford over to cut it off, but that's not going to slow down Seth Smith. And going into second base with the double is Jerko, and all of a sudden Aaron, who just did get out of a scrape in the third inning, is now up to his hips in alligators, second and third, and nobody out. And Yasmani Grandal coming up. So the error followed by the double. Last night, a 2-out error by Hanley Ramirez led to a 3-run inning. So this time the error by Smith, then Jerko doubles him to third. And here is Grandal. Grandal, switch hitter, hits very well here. Fouled off, 0-1. Grandal homered in game 1. Then last night put on a show. 2 doubles, 2 walks, and a stolen base. But hitting only .213. And a high pop fly. Now let's see. Smith doesn't tag, and going out is Turner to make the catch. Seth Smith just went halfway down the line. So a pop fly, 1 out. Runners at second and third. And the batter is Rene Rivera. So Grandal is ticked off at himself. I mean, it might be an RBI to us. It's bread and butter to him. And here's Rivera talking about bread and butter with 2 twin daughters. Just born this spring and doing really well. 9 home runs, 35 RBIs, hitting .244, and has become an outstanding defensive catcher. Fastball. He was so far out in front, he's looking at the very tip of the bat. So he was guessing. Way out there. Just did tick the end of the bat. 0-1. 0-2. No balls and 2 strikes, 1 out. Padres at second and third. Dodgers leading 1-0. On deck, the left-hand hitting Will Venable. Down at his feet. 1-2. Dodgers 1 run, 4 hits, 1 error. Padres no runs, 3 hits, no errors. Carl Crawford doubled in the only run. And got him. So Rivera strikes out, and the drought continues. The Padres get such wonderful pitching. You wonder what they would do if they had a really good offense. They don't. And here's Will Venable. So for Bud Black, it takes a lot of patience to go through what he has gone through, trying to nurture some young players, hoping that eventually they'll get it all together. That's inside, ball 1. 1-0 to Venable. Half a dozen home runs, 27 runs batted in. Foul back. For Venable, and looking at his career, came up to the Padres back in 2008. You had to guess he's about a .260 hitter, somewhere in there. Last year, he had a big year. He had 22 home runs. That missed inside. 2-1 to Will. Born in Green Bay, California. As we told you, went to Princeton, lives over in Phoenix. Got a bachelor's degree in anthropology. And a little roller to the right side. Turner makes the play, and the Padres frustrated yet again. So no runs, a hit. There was a big double. And at the end of 3.5 innings, it's still 1-0 Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw threw the first no-hitter of his career, and to honor the achievement, there'll be a commemorative pin giveaway to the first 40,000 fans at Dodger Stadium when they open up a 3-game set with the Giants on Monday, September 22nd, which happens to be Clayton's number. Compliments of 76. So for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Hanley Ramirez, followed by Carl Crawford, then Juan Uribe. 19 pitches made by Dan Haren, 62 so far. Foul back, 0-1, fastball alley. Hanley hitting .267. 13 home runs, 65 runs batted in. So the Dodgers are running on the pistons of Turner, Gonzalez, Kemp, Crawford, and Uribe, and they are looking to Ramirez and Puig to keep the machinery going full blast. Ian Kennedy down 1-0, 1-1 count. One ball, one strike. 2-1. Kennedy in some ways emulating Andrew Kashner in the sense it would appear throwing a lot of fastballs. Two balls, one strike. Fastball, missed with it, 3-1. Kennedy will be 30, 19th of December. Fastball fouled away. He's right there, 93, 94, and a 3-2 count to Hanley Ramirez. In an even 6 feet and checks in about 195. Had one great year, 2011, when he was 21-4. One of the reasons Kennedy was such dynamite in 2011, the batters hit 141 against him with runners in scoring position, and that was for the entire season. Fastball, little roller. Amarista. One away. So Ramirez has popped up and grounded out. And the batter now, Carl Crawford. Crawford hit a ball to center field, and if you were talking to Will Venable tonight, I'm sure Venable would tell you how close he came to catching the ball, and his reactions after he didn't catch it was he sorely felt he should have. Well, we see about the master of the first pitch, Carl Crawford, hitting .412. His double was on the first pitch. And he's after it again, and he has himself a base hit. So Crawford 2 for 2.
Dodgers third baseman number 5.
Juan Uribe coming up. Ground ball up the middle. No chance for Jerko. Left-hand hitter who's playing more towards the hole. Uribe singled up the middle in the second inning. Right back over 300 again with 8 home runs, 42 runs batted in. Don't forget Friday night. Oh, how could you? If you're a ball fan, you're not going to forget Friday. The Dodgers and the Giants at AT&T Park. Hyun-Jin Ryu and Madison Bumgarner. Game 1 of the 3-game series. Giants have won 7 of 13 from the Dodgers this year. Ground ball to the right side. Jerko, quick flip to Amarista, guns it over the first, and they get the double play, and that's the inning. So that went fast. So Kennedy walks off, getting his second double play, and at the end of 4, it's 1-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Looks like a blood moon looking down. Here's the schedule. I would think anybody following baseball knows this. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The times 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 1 p.m. Ryu and Bumgarner, Greinke and Hudson, Kershaw and Petit on Sunday. Then the Dodgers move on to Colorado and Chicago. For the moment, the Giants 2.5 back. They're scoreless, top of the 4th inning, Arizona and San Francisco. Slow breaking ball in for a strike to Amarista, so no fastball that time. One and one. 64 pitches. In this pitch count, Aaron has gotten hurt. 2-1. From 61 to 75, the opposition is hitting .327 against him with 5 home runs, so it's a danger zone. 3-1. And fly ball slicing. Here's Puig. So Amarista, who hit a home run against Herron in July, now 0 for 2. And Ian Kennedy, who showed bunt, then pulled the bat back and singled to left field in the 3rd inning. That was the rally. Padres had 1st and 2nd with 1 out, but Spangenberg struck out and Solarte hit into the 4th plate. Off speed, little breaking ball for a strike. 0-1. For Kennedy, the base hit was his 6th. 1 ball and 1 strike. Waiting on deck, the leadoff man, Corey Spangenberg. That's in there. 1-2 to Ian. One out. We're in the 5th. 1-0 Dodgers. Little ground ball to Gonzalez. He will hang it to Herron coming over. 2 down in the 5th inning. And Corey Spangenberg coming up. Spangenberg flied to center, struck out, 0 for 2. Led off and played 3rd base last night, had a single and a double. Didn't play in the 1st game. Takes a look. Ball 1. Spangenberg is an even 6, 195. He's only 23. 2-0. He was signed in 2011, and here he is playing in the big leagues. A Pennsylvania prep product who went to VMI. That's going to go foul. After 1 year at the Military Institute, he transferred to Indian River Junior College. When he was signed, the Padres paid him $1.8 million. I mean, they really think he's going to play for a long time and play exceptionally well. They say he's a really driven player, like a Dustin Pedroia of the Red Sox. Ball 3. It looks like Pedroia, who's been in pain since opening day with irritation in the wrist, is going to have surgery. Fastball pulled into right field. Yeah, he does look like a good hitter. Not that he's going to hit a lot of home runs. He doesn't look like that kind of a hitter. But boy, that pure left-handed swing. Bud Black, Dave Roberts, they've got to like what they see with him. Now, what do you do with him at first base with Solarte coming up? Spangenberg is 1 for 1 in stolen bases. Solarte singled and hit into a force play. And a strike. Starts him breaking ball. 0-1. Jan Hervis. Kind of a tough name when you first look at it, but Yangervis. 0-1. So Spangenberg and Jan Hervis, pretty tough combination. So it'll be Corey and Jan. 1-0 Dodgers, 5th inning. The Dodger run in the 2nd inning. Matt Kemp singled on a 3-0 pitch. Carl Crawford hit the first pitch for a double up the center field wall, and Kemp came home to score, and that's it. Pulled down the line, but foul. 0-2 the count to Solarte. Solarte this year had 6 home runs with the Yankees. Since he has come over, he has 3. So he's had 9 home runs for the year. 0-2 the count. One nothing Dodgers, 5th inning. 2 out. Spangenberg at first, and he goes. Pitch outside. The throw is high. He's in there. So Ellis had that strong throw just sail on him, and Spangenberg sneaks in under the tag. Head down, straight steal. AJ, good pitch to handle. Just got it high. Having to go up to get it and then come back down was asking too much for Hanley. And now, let's see. Here comes Mattingly. Remember, he won the review in the first inning. Solarte was called safe, and they had to reverse to an out. Let's see now. They had a close play at second base in the Giant Arizona game. Kirk Gibson came out and argued, and Gibson won. Dodger players again look up at the screen. They're walking up the field, so that the call for out is almost anticlimactic. So for the second time, Padres lose a potential stolen base. It's declared an out, and we're going to the bottom of the 5th. 1-0 Dodgers. Aaron's been in trouble. He's pitched 5 innings, and he's had men on base in 4 of the 5 innings. However, by craft and great stuff like that breaking ball, along with another good one to Spangenberg, the big pitch that struck out Rivera, he is doing his high wire act and doing very well. So we go to the bottom of the 5th with the Dodgers leading 1-0. Herron and Kennedy. And it'll be Ellis, Herron, and Puig as they show the moon, the blood moon, on the screen up there in left and right field. Wow, what a sight. 0-1. AJ walked in the 2nd inning. By the way, because he has become a rather visible part of the game, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the second base umpire. Off the plate, 1-1. His name is Lance Barrett. He's been umpiring for a year and a half in the big leagues. He is not 30 years old. I mean, he has to be very good to be called up at that young age. He lives in Fort Worth, Texas. Graduated from Crowley High School, and he's married, but not even 30. Wow. Lance Barrett. 1-2. And what I just don't like, to me, it's adds salt in the wounds as you see Cameron Maybin in center field replacing Will Venable. I mean, the Dodgers are walking off the field while the game is still under review because they show it up on the screen. I think maybe I won't like that at all. I'd much rather, without the crowd looking at it, without the crowd prejudging, then you get the review, and you know the umpire, he's trying to do his best, and that's the whole idea of it anyway, to get it right. So 1 away. Dan Haren struck out. 0 for 1. That's just right. Oh, and 2. Dan Haren has struck out 3. Ian Kennedy has struck out 4. And make it 5. So 2 out. Yasiel Puig coming up. Meanwhile, at AT&T Park, Diamondbacks nothing, Giants nothing, and they're going to the bottom of the 4th inning. Yasiel lined out. He was robbed of a hit by Amarista, and then in the 2nd inning, struck out with the bases loaded. Average now at 291. Ball 1. So Yasiel, who was hitting what, 340 back in May and June, and then all of a sudden stopped. Now he's trying to keep his batting average above 290. 1-1. One ball and 1 strike. Line foul into the lower deck. 1-2 the count. Ian Kennedy had a very easy 4th inning. He only made 8 pitches, and he only made 9 in the 3rd inning. One and 2. The only run, Kemp singled on a 3-0 pitch. Crawford hit the first pitch for a double. Kemp scored, and that's it. Crawford and Uribe having their conversation. 2-2. Fastball inside. Waiting on deck, Justin Turner. Three balls, 2 strikes. Fast one fouled off the plate. Might have been a little bit of a cutter because it was moving away from him. Fastball lifted to right center, and it will be Cameron Maybin. So Puig 0 for 3 as he flies to center. Dodgers go quietly at the end of 5, 1-0 Dodgers. Shut out the Cincinnati Reds 5-0. He was then going to go on to have 3 more consecutive shutouts, and of course you know the end of that story. 59 consecutive scoreless innings to establish the record. Of course it didn't count to the string, but you know he went another 8 innings against the Mets. So really he had 67 consecutive scoreless innings, but they only count the 59. And of course you know that the Dodgers went on to win the World Series. Let's go back to this one. To be honest, I think the Dodger organization is a little tired of looking all the way back to '88. They want to put another one up there at a more recent age. Line drive down the line, foul. 0-1. Solarte, after Spangenberg was thrown out trying to steal. One ball and 1 strike. Aaron's allowed 4 hits, nothing else. Right off the end of the bat, so Solarte stayed with 1 and then way out in front of the next one. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jan Herbis, Solarte, then Seth Smith, Jed Jerko. Fouled away. That staggered AJ a little bit. Ryu and Bumgarner, Greinke and Hudson, Kershaw and Pettit, or Petit. Remember, the Dodgers made sure, as AJ takes a shot in the mask, that they would separate the left-handers. They didn't want their left-handers back-to-back, so they split them with Greinke. 1 and 2. And got him. Solarte strikes out. Strikeout number 4 for Dan Haren. Worked that right in under the hands. Seth Smith struck out, reached on the error. Justin Turner plays him out on the grass in right field and didn't have enough on his throw. He's not as deep as he was, so it'll be an easier throw. Ball 1. Haren now 85 pitches. Slow breaking ball dropped in nicely. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers 1 run, 5 hits. Padres no runs, 4 hits. And a high fly ball to right. Kemp running to his left on the track in front of the gate. 2 out in the 6th inning. And the batter will be Jed Jerko. Up north at the end of 4. Arizona nothing. Giants nothing. Cole Mentor and Vogelsong have combined for only 1 strikeout and 6 walks. But the game is scoreless, and both pitchers, Cole Mentor and Vogelsong, around 65 pitches in 4 innings. Jerko grounded to short and doubled. That was the big shot that the Padres had. Smith reached on an error, and Jerko doubled him to third. And Grandal popped up, Rivera struck out, and Venable grounded out. Jerko hitting .205, 10 home runs, 47 runs batted in. So for Dan Haren, very much in control. 2 strikeouts in the inning to give him 5. And at the end of 5.5 innings, we'll take a look at the action on that last pitch. It's 1-0 in favor of the Dodgers. We're heading to the bottom of the 6th. Be sure to join us on the next episode of Backstage Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw's Ping Pong for Purpose charity event becomes a hit with teammates and celebrities. Plus, you can go behind the scenes as Jock Peterson follows in his father's footsteps and is called up to the major leagues. So don't miss the new episode of Backstage Dodgers tomorrow at 7 right here on Sportsnet LA. Kershaw and Ellis side by side. Justin Turner checking in what has turned out to be a dandy of a pitching duel. Kennedy working on Turner. Ball one. Kennedy has been in more trouble. He's had 7 3-ball counts. And yet, that close, he's only walked 1. Fastball, pull foul. Wow. The third base umpire, Dana DeMuth, just did get out of the way of that thing. We saw Ron Copen nailed on the first base foul line. Look out, Dana. He's been working over 30 years. Great umpire. 1 ball and 1 strike to Justin Turner. Way out in front. 1-2. Turner, Gonzalez, and Kemp here in the 6th. And that's going to be into left field. So Turner continues his phenomenal hitting. Another base hit. He's 2 for 3. That gets him up around 330. And Adrian Gonzalez coming up. So Justin had to go down to get it and just got it over Amarista. So the Dodgers trying to add to the 1-0 lead. Gonzalez has struck out and flied to center. If you forget about Turner, you'll pay a price. You don't think of him as a base stealer, but he has stolen 6 out of 7. One run, 6 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, 4 hits for the Padres. Adrian, a shot up the middle. Turner will stop at second, and the Dodgers are in business. First and second, and nobody out with Kemp, Ramirez, and Crawford. So 2 on, nobody out in the 6th. Dodgers have had base runners except in the 1st inning and in the 5th. Matt went 3-0, singled and scored in the 2nd inning, grounded up the middle and hit into a double play in the 3rd. 2 on, nobody out. One ball and no strikes. No activity yet in the San Diego bullpen. Bud Black has not had anybody getting up yet. Two and 0 the count. .82 pitches, and in that stretch, Kennedy has done well. 76 to 90. The opposition hitting only .220 against him. Strike with the fastball, 2-1. Matt thought certainly that was low and off the plate. Tom Woodring, young umpire, calling balls and strikes. Ground ball picked nicely at third. They get one. They get two. So in back-to-back at-bats, Matt Kemp grounds into double plays. Turner advances to third, but 2 out. So 6-4-3 the first time, 5-4-3 the second time. And the batter is Hanley Ramirez. We were talking about Lance Barrett, the second base umpire, who was 30. Tom Woodring, the plate umpire, 28. So we're seeing a lot of young umpires now getting some valuable experience. Ramirez popped up, grounded out to short. Remember the pressure on Rivera. Kennedy with 11 wild pitches. Turner at third, 2 outs, 6th inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Fastball lined into right field. To Hanley, a base hit and a run batted in, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. So Turner gets 5 coming to the dugout. Dodgers now have 8 hits against Ian Kennedy. Clean as a whistle, base hit and a run batted in. For Hanley Ramirez, he has 66 runs batted in now. Carl Crawford, a first pitch hitter, doubled on the first pitch in the second inning and singled on the first pitch in the fourth. Though we'll see if Kennedy has learned his lesson about the first pitch. Hanley Ramirez has stolen 14 out of 19. A bluff at first and going after the first pitch as usual. Crawford fouls it back. You know, Justin Turner singled beginning the inning and eventually scored. He had 2 strikes on him. In fact, it was a 1-2 count, and he got a base hit. With 2 strikes on the hitter is really the underdog, but Turner is hitting over 300 with 2 strikes. Victor Martinez for Detroit hitting .329 with 2 strikes on him. They're the leaders. Turner in the National League, Martinez in the American. 0-1 the count to Crawford. In the dirt. Nice block by Rivera. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers scored in the second inning. Kemp singled on a 3-0 pitch, and Crawford doubled him in. Now here in the 6th, Turner and Gonzalez single. Kemp hits into a double play, and Ramirez picks up Turner. Very close. Randall thought it was almost close enough to walk off the field. Hanley talking to Davey Lopes. Very close in a lot of respects. And now Bud Black's going to come out. Dave Roberts nodding. Yeah. Yes. Call it a review. So we'll see. The tag really got Ramirez right in the groin. The question was whether his foot was on the bag or not. Tough ball game, 2-0 Dodgers, so every close play extremely important. Look at this. There's the touch, and it looks like the touch was before the foot got on the bag. We'll see. Now it's the Padres' turn. They're starting to walk off the field. I don't know about that, showing the play on Diamond Vision. Maybe after the call, Yeah, the Padres are slowly walking off. Randolph certainly thought he had him. His instinct immediately was to head for the dugout. So we've had 2 reviews on plays at second base. Now a review tight play at first. Still don't know. Every time we have this, though, I salute the umpires. You realize how tough a call they have. And we use millions of dollars worth of high technical equipment to try and see if they're right or wrong. Even that one tape is not definitive. You can't really tell. Is the glove touching the cloth or not? Here it comes. Out. So Randolph has the tag on Ramirez. The Dodgers get 1 run on 3 hits. Nobody left and lead 2-0. This month's $6 foot-long special, the Italian BMT, or the $3 6-inch Select, the Sweet Onion Chicken Teriyaki. Subway, eat fresh. And by your Southern California Mazda dealers. Tough ball game, 2-0 Dodgers. And we go to the 7th inning with Grandal, Rivera, and Maben coming up against Dan Haren. Haren has allowed 4 hits and no runs. Off speed, ball 1. 4 hits while striking out 5. Grandal has grounded out and popped up. 2-0. Grandal with power. Kemp and Puig very deep. That's a strike. 2-1. Down in the pen, Carlos Frias begins to loosen up. And popped in the air, foul. Adrian coming over will have the play. So Grandal fouls out, 1 out in the 7th. Meanwhile, it's scoreless. They're in the 6th inning. Arizona and the Giants, no score. The batter is Rene Rivera, who has popped up, struck out, hitting .243. Nick Vincent, the right-hander, throwing now in the bullpen for San Diego. Vincent's been up in the bullpen in each of the first 2 games, but he's not gotten in. Oh, and 1. Fastball, but missed. Herron is now in another dangerous area. From 91 to 105 pitches, the opposition hitting .267 with 2 home runs. 2-1. Of course, for Dan, his worst time, the first 30 pitches in any game. Breaking ball in there. 2-2. I'm sure he's puzzled about that. First 30 pitches in a game, the opposition has hit 11 home runs against him. Dan, coming into the game, has been victimized. He's allowed 25 home runs. Cameron Maybin waiting on deck. Fastball, a hopper to third, and Uribe. 2 down. So Dan Herron gave up the double in the 4th, and that's all, and a single in the 5th. Otherwise, moving along very nicely on a 4-hitter. So we have 2 down, and Cameron Maybin checking in. Cameron Maybin is hitting .235, 1 home run, 9 runs batted in. He does run very well. He has 12 doubles and 3 triples. 0-1. Disappointment is a major part of this game, and patience is the other. Maybin is one of those fellows who has not come close to what they projected, but he's still very young. Check swing. From Asheville, North Carolina. First round pick by the Tigers. They sent him on to the Marlins, who sent him on to the Padres. 2-2. Maybin, a fine defensive outfielder no matter what, and hits a fly ball to center. Puig is at the other end. So down goes Maybin and the Padres, and we're heading for the bottom of the 7th inning. Dan Herron walking off, leading 2-0. Couple of bang plays, and the Dodgers at the right side of all of them, and the fans enjoying every minute. It's 2-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 7th inning, and the Dodgers will be sending up Crawford, Uribe, and Ellis in that order. Dan Haren rolling along nicely through 7 innings. He has made 105 pitches. Meanwhile, Ian Kennedy has made 88 as he goes to work. Good curveball. Crawford, as usual, going after the first pitch, and the count 0-1. Crawford doubled and singled. The double chased home Kemp. One ball and one strike. Kennedy, I'm sure in his heart, knows he'll be probably going out for a pinch hitter. He's due up second in the 8th inning. Sinker missing. 2-1 the count. Dodgers got a run in the 2nd inning. Crawford doubled home Kemp, and the Dodgers got a run in the 6th. Ramirez singled home Turner. Fastball on the outside corner. Nice pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes. So Kennedy hanging tough. The first thing about Ian Kennedy, when you're reading up on him, he gets such low run support. 2.6 runs. Well, they've gotten him nothing tonight. Padres score about almost 30% more runs after he leaves the game. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ground ball hard by the diving Grandal. Crawford sees that the right fielder Smith was deep. The throw will go over second, back up at third, and it's a leg double for Carl Crawford, and he's 3 for 3 tonight. So Carl Crawford has it all. Good bat, good speed. Take a look at him churning. He takes one look to see where the right fielder Smith is. He is deep, and so Carl just keeps on going and beats the high throw. So a leadoff double, 3 for 3 for Carl Crawford. The batter is Juan Uribe. Uribe's 1 for 2, and he strokes one into left center. That's going to score Crawford easily, and Uribe will hold at first, and the Dodgers lead 3-0. So Ian Kennedy pitching just well enough to stay in the game, but now he has allowed the Dodgers to have a 3-0 lead, and that forces Bud Black's hand. You knew he was going to bat for Kennedy in the 8th inning, but now he's going to have to take him out in the 7th. 3 runs, 10 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 4 hits for the Padres, and Ian is driven to cover. So since 2013, he is 0-4 against the Dodgers. He has made 17 starts against the Dodgers, and it could be he's going to wind up 5-7 lifetime. Nick Vincent will be coming in, and we'll be back. Inning. First pitch, he probably doubled off the wall. Venable tried but couldn't make the play. That cashed in Matt Kemp. Then in the fourth inning, leading off, hit the first pitch for a single up the middle, but then doubled up by Uribe. Last time up, doubled by the diving Grandal. Winds up at second, and he's picked up by Juan Uribe and carries in the third run. So Crawford 3-4-3, and the Dodgers leading 3-0. Kennedy has been dispatched, and now Nick Vincent will be pitching to A.J. Ellis, followed by Andre Ethier, who will bat for Dan Haren. So Nick Vincent in his 54th game. A.J. shows bunt on a pitch out. 1 ball and no strikes. Nick Vincent should be pitching for San Diego. He's from Poway, that's where he was born. Lives in Ramona. Went to school at Long Beach State. And the bunt in the air, foul, drops untouched. 1 ball and 1 strike. A.J. hitting 188. He has a home run. 16 runs batted in. Checking to see if they want him to try to bunt again. Ellis has 2 sacrifices this year. 1 ball and 1 strike. A.J. struggling with the bat. 4 years ago, you may remember, in a series with Colorado, he went 7 for 8. But that's 4 years ago. Uribe at first, nobody out. Showing bunt. Got it down on the chalk. It's going to be a play by Grandal to Jerko. Sacrifice works. Uribe advances to second. And Andre Ethier will be coming up. For Ian Kennedy, he has one big regret tonight. We've always talked about the fact the first commandment of big league pitching, first pitch strike. The second commandment is to get the leadoff hitter in the inning. Well, Kemp led off the second, scored a run. Turner led off the sixth, scored a run. Crawford leads off the seventh with a double, scores a run. So Kennedy violated that, goes out after 95 pitches, and here's Ethier now hitting for Haren. Tough ball game up there in AT&T Park. No score, 7th inning. Ryan Vogelsong and Josh Colmentor. So Andre trying to stay sharp for the last couple of weeks and hoping to make some valuable commitments to the ball club during the playoffs. 1-0. Away, Rivera down to Amarista, no chance. You can bet on it. If a catcher has a very good arm, you're going to see him throw a lot. The better the arm, the more you'll see him throw. Never fail. So Uribe with Ethier trying to pick him up. Boy, you really have to salute Dan Haren. Another tremendous effort for him just when the Dodgers needed it. That's going to be ball 3. In Dan Haren's last 7 starts, his earned run average is 1.7. Remarkable. 42 innings, only 30 hits, and another gem tonight. So Dan had that bad time the end of June into almost the end of July, but boy, he turned it around. 3-0. 3-1. Chances were very good that Ethier would be green lighted. Yasiel Puig on deck, 1 out. Dodgers lead 3-0. Not easy, however. They lead 3-0 on 10 hits. Fastball, 3-2. Nick Vincent pitched in high school. He also played the outfield. Graduated with a 3.3 point average. Then he went on to Palomar College. Then transferred to Long Beach State and eventually drafted by the Padres. Basically fastball and a cutter. Uribe at second, 1 out, 3-2 the count to Ethier. And line drive to right field, base hit. Seth Smith gets it back in. Uribe holding at third. So Ethier a single to put runners at first and third, the third hit of the inning. And the batter will be Yasiel Puig.
Dodger center fielder, number 66, Yasiel Puig.
So Seth Smith gets it in. It's going to be cut off. Uribe was not thinking about trying to score anyway. And here's Puig, lined out. Amarista, a leaping one-hand catch of his line drive. Struck out in the second inning with the bases loaded and flied out in the fifth. He is now hitting .291, fighting to stay above it. Go right after him, fastball, 0-1 the count. Vincent, that 90-mile-an-hour fastball, that's around as high as he'll pitch. But the pitch that really does the work for him is the cutter. Cutter looks just like a fastball. Two years ago, he decided not to pitch out of the windup. Of course, now runners on, it's stretch. That's that fastball again at 90. 0-2. Nick Vincent, an even 6, 175-pounder. Just turned 28. and 2. Foul back. From June to July, I'd say a good month for Nick Vincent. He was on the DL. Fatigue in his right shoulder. No balls and 2 strikes. 1 out. Dodgers at first and third. Dodgers trying to add to that 3-0 lead. Fastball got him. Whoa. The Puig, another tough 0 for 4. 2 strikeouts. And the batter is Justin Turner. It's a fastball. It's not a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. And I don't mean to dwell on it, but it is pretty different that they're getting him out on fastball. If you were reading and saying, well, they're fooling him with good hard sliders down and away or curveballs, but no, fastball. So he's going to learn the expression in English, hang in there. And here's Justin Turner looking for his 3rd hit. Check swing on a fastball. Turner might be 3 for 3. Hit a shot off the leg of Ian Kennedy. It caromed over to Jerko, who threw him out. So then Justin lined a single left and then another one. Off the plate, 1 ball and 1 strike. In the 7th inning, no score. And Ryan Vogelsong is relieved by Gene Machi. 2 out, 2 on in the 7th. Jordan Pacheco is pinch hitting for Arizona. Scoreless up there. Came over the top to get that fastball. 1-2. Three runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 4 hits for San Diego. Check swing foul. Pacheco grounds out. So they're heading for the bottom of the 7th inning at AT&T Park. No score. Meanwhile, the Dodgers winning here 3-0. The collision Friday night. Hyun-Jin Ryu, Madison Bumgarner, right here on Sportsnet LA from AT&T Park. 1-2. Ground ball, Jerko, quick flip by Marista. That'll be that. So the Dodgers get 1 run on 3 hits, leave 2. Nice relief job for Nick Vincent. And at the end of 7, as Herron calls it a night. So for Kennedy, 3-zip Dodgers. September 23rd, be one of the first 40,000 fans in attendance. You'll take home a sleeved blanket presented by your SoCal Honda dealers. And for tickets to the game and all of the games with the Giants, be sure to visit Dodgers.com/tickets. Dodgers make 3 changes. Miguel Rojas picks up for Hanley Ramirez at shortstop. Darwin Barney took a lot of ground balls in practice, and now you know why. He's taking over for Turner at second base. And the left-hander J.P. Howell will pick up for Dan Herron as we go to the 8th. So Darren Herron, another gem, 105 pitches, and certainly in command all the way. Allowed just 4 hits, struck out 5, and Howell picks up a strike. Reimer Liriano not hitting. Liriano last night 0 for 4. In the first game 1 for 5, so 1 for 9 in the series. 0-2 the count to Reimer Liriano. Tommy Medica, another fellow who's not hitting, will try his luck after Liriano. No balls, 2 strikes. No swing. Reimer is from Santo Domingo. He's another young player, 23 years old. Just turned 23 the end of June. One ball, 2 strikes. check swing. I think they're going to ring him up. They don't need the first base umpire. The plate umpire, Tom Woodring, and that will do it. So 1 out. Take another look. Check swing. Whoa, that bat went all the way. No chance. So now the batter, Tommy Medica.
Your attention, please.
Medica, his average now down to 227. And for Tommy, it's really been a trouble. And a hopper smothered by Darwin Barney to get him. So Darwin Barney, who worked out hard before the game. Tim Fedorovich happy to see Barney make that play. And we have 2 down as Medica, who is just starving for a hit, has one taken away.
Left fielder, number 15, Corey Stingenberg.
Darwin up and at him and gets his man. 2 pinch hitters, 0 for 2, and the leadoff man is Howell. Says, yeah, you're the man. So Darwin, a Gold Glove winner 2 years ago, and shows you why when he played for the Cubs. That's a strike to Spangenberg. Fly to center, struck out, single to right. He's another runner who thought he had second base stolen, and on review called out. 0-1. We've had 3 tonight, 2 at second base, 1 at first base. All 3 calls were reviewed, and all 3 calls were changed. 2 for Lance Barrett, and the other was a pickoff play involving Ron Kulpa, the first base umpire. 0-2. JP trying to get on top of that thing and bounced off the mound. 1-2 to Corey. Spangenberg with his base hit tonight has a little 5-game hitting streak. Spent most of the summer at San Antonio, and he hit .317 down there. Young first-round pick. Chases the breaking ball. Down he goes. He strikes out a second time. Meanwhile, JP comes in, faces 3, strikes out 2 with that big downer, and at the end of 7.5, it's still 3-0 Dodgers. The Giants have just scored a run at AT&T Park. Oliver Perez came in and walked Hunter Pence to lead off the 7th, and Gregor Blanco just doubled Pence home. So it's going to be a tough weekend for both teams. It'll be Ryu and Bumgarner Friday night, Greinke and Tim Hudson Saturday, and Kershaw and Petit on Sunday. And then the Dodgers still have not only a week on the road, 3 in Colorado, 4 in Chicago, but when they come home, it's another collision. It'll be 3 with the Giants starting on September 22nd through the 24th. And the final weekend of the regular season will be right here against Colorado. So a lot of great baseball left. Certainly hope you make your plans and be out here with us if you can. Tim Stauffer will pick up. He is the 3rd Padre pitcher. Ian Kennedy, then Nick Vincent, and now Tim. Adrian Gonzalez will be the first to meet him. Couple of changes for the Padres. We'll give them to you in between pitches. Gonzalez 1 for 3 and ball 1-0. Reimer Liriano, who batted for Amarista, stays in the game in right field. Seth Smith, who was in right field, moves to left. Spangenberg, who was in left field, is now at 3rd base. Solarte is now at short, handling that line drive. And we have 1 out. So Gonzalez, a shot to short. The batter now will be Matt Kemp. Kemp singled on a 3-0 pitch in the 2nd inning. That extended his hitting streak to 16. However, since then, he's hit into 2 double plays. Hitting .283, 19 home runs, 69 runs batted in. No balls, 1 strike. Fastball misses. 1-1. Padres in the 9th. Solarte, Smith, and Jerko. Ground ball to 3rd. Spangenberg makes the play. 2 down in the 8th inning. Well, hello. Aren't you the one we saw before trying to smuggle golf balls in your cheeks? I think so. I think I do remember that. My, what big feet I have, he's thinking. It's going to cost a fortune. Christian Lavelle, first time at Dodger Stadium. Well, welcome to the club. Aren't you special? Yeah, you. That's a strike to Darwin Barney, playing 2nd base, hitting in Ramirez's spot. Paul Crawford having a big night on deck. 0-2 to Darwin. Tim Stauffer, veteran right-hander from Portland, Maine, and Sarasota Springs, New York. You'd like to see the Dodgers get a man on base and try to steal on him. If you go back to 2005, the last note I have on Stauffer, he's allowed 4 stolen bases. 2-2. Stauffer went to school at the University of Richmond. He was a 1st-round pick with the Padres. 3-2. Came up to the Padres for the first time in 2005, but He's been up and down. Tim, 32 years old, just missed. So Barney draws the walk with 2 out here in the 8th inning, with the Dodgers leading 3-0. And the batter will be Carl Crawford. Doubled, singled, doubled again, and the alert is out. First ball hitter. Let's see what happens now. Crawford having a big series at the expense of the Padres, 8 for 11 with a home run and 4 runs batted in. First pitch, watch out. Yeah, well, you know he's going after it. 0-1. Tim growing up in upstate New York, Saratoga Springs. He was all-state in high school. He's 6'1". He played basketball, averaging 17 points and 10 rebounds. He was also on the golf team and the soccer team. So Tim was very, very busy. By the way, the paid attendance tonight, another nice crowd. Give it to you after the pitch. Fouled away. Okay. The paid attendance tonight, 45,586. So add 45, and the Dodgers are getting awfully close to 3,000,005, and they'll certainly do that first game with the Giants on September 22nd. So Crawford in a hitterish mood, going after just about everything. No balls and 2 strikes. Carl hitting .286. When he stays healthy, when he's not injured, there are so many parts to his game. Line drive down the line. Liriano was over into right center, so that's an easy double. Darwin Barney is going to come to the plate and score, and the Dodgers lead 4-0. And what a night for Carl Crawford. Crawford 4 for 4, 3 doubles and a single, and he picks up 2 runs batted in, and he has scored once. Liriano going over to the line. Barney was going to score, but he had to run hard. It was a good strong throw to the plate, but late. So Crawford enjoying a big night, and the Dodgers enjoying his talents. Barney catching his breath in the dugout, and it's 4-0 in favor of the Dodgers. A strike to Uribe. Giants are leading 1-0 in the 7th inning, and they have runners at first and third with 1 out. 1-1. Uribe has had 2 singles, so he's gotten his average up to .303. Everybody but Ellis and Puig have had at least 1 hit. 1-2 to Juan. On deck, A.J. Ellis. Kenley Jansen has been up in the bullpen, and he's joined by Carlos Frias. 1-2. Off the rubber. With the Dodgers leading 4-0, I would think the chances are they would rest Jansen and pitch Frias to get the 3 outs in the 9th inning. We'll see. 1-2 to Uribe. Breaking ball, slow roll to the third. Spangenberg makes the play. So the Dodgers, thanks to Carl Crawford's huge night, pick up another run. Carl 4 for 4, 3 doubles and a single. And at the end of 8, 4-0 Dodgers. Thinking we saw Frias throwing so hard with Jansen standing alongside of him, so we figured, well, it's 4-0. Why not save Jansen a few pitches and they'll bring in Frias? But then when you realize that it has been a while since Jansen has been on the mound, that was the Rio Anderson game against the Diamondbacks. So with a day off tomorrow and not till a night game Friday, I'm sure Mattingly thought, no, he actually needs a little work. So Kenley Jansen pitching the 9th against Solarte, Smith, and Jerko. We can also tell you the Giants leading Arizona 2-0 in the 7th inning. An RBI double by Matt Duffy, pinch hitting for Machi, and there's still only 1 out. So the Dodgers trying to beat San Diego for the 12th time, and the Giants to win 8 straight at home. And ball 1. Diamondbacks, should they lose, will have lost 5 in a row, and they've only won 6 of their last 23 games. Foul ball. We were talking about Michael Morse earlier. He's not playing. He has a left oblique strain, and they're saying that Morse, the home run hitting left fielder, might not play in the series against the Dodgers. He's really a maybe. He's already missed 7 games, and if you've even heard about the left oblique strain right around the rib cage, it's so hard to play, let alone trying to swing a bat. Three and 1 to count. Bruce Bochy's son, he's a right-hand pitcher. Brett Bochy is with the big club. He's yet to be in a ball game, and Papa Bruce said, my son is not putting on any pressure on me yet. And there's ball 4 to Solarte, and that'll bring up Seth Smith. You know, the most popular way to follow the postseason with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. You'll enjoy it all. Look-ins, replays, scores, live audio broadcast, MLB TV, game of the day, and more. You can get it on the App Store or visit MLB.com. So Jansen working against Smith. Ball 1. Well, remember, we told you that it's been a while since Jansen pitched. That's the problem. You don't need him. That's fine. Then suddenly he passes the line of rest. And then it's hard to just come back and throw strikes. Up north, Giants are now leading Arizona 4-0. Angel Pagan scoring on a fly ball. Let's get back to Kenley Jansen. His last game was Saturday. 1 inning, as we mentioned, against Arizona. Breaking ball misses. A little cutter. 2-0. 4 runs, 12 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 4 hits. The Padres have been shut out 18 times coming into this game. Fastball strike. I remember one year the Dodgers set a record. They won the pennant and they were shut out 17 times. That was unbelievable. And yet they won. 2-1 to Smith. Little pop foul. He might have been trying to hit that ball the other way, because the Dodgers load up the right side even though there is a base runner. So Uribe is all alone on the left side, and I think Seth was trying to really inside out the pitch. And the count 2 balls 2 strikes. Two and 2. Still hacking them foul. The old QB from Ole Miss, Seth Smith. Top of the ninth, nobody out, 4-0 Dodgers. Solarte at first, and a hopper to Gonzalez, down to Barney, back to Jansen, double play. So the Dodgers turn a good one in the 9th inning. Seth Smith goes 0 for 4. And the batter now will be Jed Jerko. Adrian down to second. Return to first. That's that. 2 out in the 9th. Here's Jerko. Grounded to short. Doubled and struck out. Jerko with his double. Padres have only had 2 men get as far as second base. Venable reached second in the 3rd inning. Smith got to 3rd in the 4th. That's really it. Well, they have been thoroughly shut out, and close now to the 19th time. Dodgers 1 step away from holding on to a 2.5 game lead at least. Ball 1. 4 runs, 12 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. No runs, 4 hits, and no errors for San Diego. Final meeting of the year. 2-2. Boy, Kenley really let one go that time. 97 miles an hour. Dodgers trying to win 7 out of 10, and Yasmani Grandal waiting on deck. Just missed. 3-2. Again, a reminder, Friday night, Ryu and Bumgarner. Saturday night, Greinke and Hudson. Sunday afternoon, Kershaw and Petit. 3-2. Breaking ball got him. So the Padres are blank 4-0. The Dodgers now have beaten them 12 of 19 and 7 of 10 here at Dodger Stadium. And certainly the players of the game would be, first of all, the great pitching performance and the batting of Carl Crawford. Dan Herron, 105 pitches, 7 innings. He had 5 strikeouts, only 4 hits, and walked off with a 7-inning shutout. And Carl Crawford not only went 4 for 4, 3 doubles and a single, he wound up going 9 for 12 in the series. 5 of the 9 hits, extra base hits. So the Dodgers win going away. And now, talking about going away, they're heading to San Francisco, a collision Friday night. We'll talk to you then. Till then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.